What's up guys, Ian here, and today I'm going to be reviewing Cannibal Corpse, their 6th album and 2nd album to be featuring George Corpse Grind Official, and their 1st album to be featuring the amazing Pat O'Brien. And that album is Gallery of Suicide. If you don't know by the title, I don't know why you not know what video you clicked on. That would be weird. But anyway, this album was released 1998. Yep, 1998. Yeah, Rob Bear quit. I guess he was just he wasn't too into the death metal thing at that time as much as all the other band members were, so he just quit and went on to Mobile Creation, which is a great band, of course. So yeah, and then they got Pat O'Brien, who used to be the guitarist for the band, thrash metal band Nevermore, which is another amazing band. I plan to review them. So let's get into the album. The production, they got a guy by the name of Jim Morris. He has done some, not too much metal bands, but he's done quite a bit. So he is a pretty good producer, but the production, compared to a lot of Cannibal Corpse productions, with this album isn't too good. I mean, it's not bad, it's not horrible, but it's definitely not their best. Yeah, it's definitely not their best. But one thing I did have problem with the production was it was almost like it sounded like their first album. Like, I mean, it was, how do I explain this? Even Back to Life's production is very similar to Gallery of Suicide, what I got out of it. It was kind of like that feel like this is their first album. And that's not very good to have like a 6th album sounding like that. You know, that's usually the first album. And then there's Go Obsessed, but we'll get to that when we do it. So, yeah, production, not too great, don't hate it, it's okay, it's pretty decent production. Jim Morris is definitely a pretty good producer. And now going on to the artwork. The artwork is, once again, pretty cool, amazing, love it, and I actually enjoy the uncensored, well, the censored artwork better, because it's kind of like the outside of the castle, of like the castle that everyone's committing suicide and stuff, because Gallery of Suicide, a bunch of people killing themselves, and that's basically what the artwork is. But pretty cool artwork, pretty graphic. Now, the music, the important part of the album. They didn't experiment too much, which I don't really like it when bands experiment. They didn't really do it with this album, but they definitely kind of changed from Vile. It wasn't as fast. It was some songs. It wasn't as fast as Vile. It wasn't as groovy as like The Bleeding or something. And overall, I didn't really enjoy the music that much. Neither the vocals. Like, I don't know. I mean, I definitely don't hate the album. No, I mean, it's a pretty decent album. It's just some of the songs I just didn't enjoy too much, and definitely my favorite songs are From Skin to Liquid and Sentence to Bone. And I think From Skin to Liquid is the only instrumental song that Cannibal Corpse has done. Although there is Infinite Misery from Kill, but yeah, I think that's like, so they've done two instrumental. Anyway, going a bit off track. So yeah, I didn't enjoy it too much. It wasn't, they didn't, to me it didn't feel like they went 100% with this album. I mean, it could have been a very good album like Vile and The Bleeding, or even Bloodthirst, but they just didn't take it all the way. And I think George Fisher, I think this is the only album that he actually had something to do with the writing process, which, I don't know why I stopped that, because, I mean, his lyrics weren't that bad. I'm pretty sure the lyrics, yeah. well, who wouldn't write anything else? I don't think he could play an instrument. He's a singer. But yeah, the lyrics weren't too bad. The production of the vocal is okay, but the vocals themselves is very similar to Vile. Not as good as Vile, but it's still pretty good. Not too special. Not like mind-blowing good, but it's okay. It's decent. Overall, this is a pretty decent album. I mean, the bass is pretty decent. The guitars are pretty decent. There was some cool, mind-blowing parts from here and there with the guitars. The drums, it's just pretty decent drums. Just your normal Cannibal Corpse drums, The drumming was what you should expect from the band. So overall, it's a pretty decent album. Nothing too special. I mean, and here's something else. I think this album is also very underrated in a way. I mean, you don't, from like Vile to, let's say, maybe like the recemmond, like everything in between those albums, you don't hear too much. I mean, you hear quite a bit of Bloodthirst and maybe sometimes Go Obsessed, but you don't really. This is Gallery of Suicide is probably the most underrated Cannibal Corpse album, and I mean, I can kind of see why, because it's not too great, but it's not too bad either. Like something else, like country music or something. I don't know. It's not terrible. It's definitely not a terrible album. I definitely don't think it's like a very good album. Definitely not Cannibal Corpse's best, and definitely not the worst. But there was a lot of parts, mostly from Skin to Liquid, to Sentenced to Bone, I Will Kill You, Stabbed in the Throat. I mean, Headless was a pretty good one on there. There were a couple of parts in the album that I really did enjoy. And in all, I would have to give Cannibal Corpse Gallery of Suicide a 6 out of 10. Little Cannibal Corpse fans, listen to it. Don't judge it because it's kind of underrated, but just listen to it. I mean, it's a pretty decent album. Not very mind-blowing what you expect from Cannibal Corpse, but if you're a Cannibal Corpse fan and if you want to get into death metal, I definitely recommend it. 6 out of 10.